Hello everyone, and welcome back to our course on modern web development. As you prepare to deploy your Next.js application and start your own AI-powered application as your final project, optimizing it for performance and ensuring a smooth deployment process are crucial steps. This lesson will guide you through advanced techniques to enhance your application speed, user experience, and readiness for production. Specifically, we'll cover several things, including optimizing your Next.js applications, so code splitting and lazy loading, image optimization, font optimization, utilizing the Metadata API, managing static assets, also preparing for deployment, environment variable management, which is a recap since we already covered that in our previous lessons briefly, build and export settings, bundle analysis, and also we're going to go through monitoring and logging. So setting up logs for serverless functions, and a brief mention of analytics options such as Google Analytics or Vercel Analytics. And by the end of this lesson, you'll have practical knowledge and TypeScript code examples using the Next.js app router, Tailwind CSS, and ESLint to optimize your application and prepare it for a successful deployment. And here are some objectives that you can just kind of go through quickly. And we're going to start with optimizing your Next.js application and going through several concepts. So as you know, performance optimization is key to delivering a fast and responsive user experience. Next.js provides several built-in features to help you achieve this, especially when using the app router within the app directory. So first two concepts that we're going to cover today are code splitting and lazy loading. So what is code splitting? Essentially, it is a technique where your application's code is divided into smaller chunks that can be loaded on demand. This reduces the initial load time by only loading the necessary code for the current page. And automatic code splitting in Next.js app router involves automatically splitting your code by each route in the app directory. So when the user navigates to a route, only the code for that route is loaded. And we're also gonna practice dynamic imports with Next/dynamic. So you can further optimize your application by dynamically importing components or even libraries using the Next dynamic function. And here's the example. So let's say you have a heavy component called heavyComponent.tsx that you only want to load when necessary. So first of all, we're gonna copy the component, and let's go to our Visual Studio Code. And we already have this component defined here. So this is not actually a very heavy component, as you can see. So just imagine that there's a heavy logic or large libraries involved. This is solely for demonstration purposes and to show how dynamic imports work. So after we did that, you also should know that since the component uses client-side interactivity, so event handlers, state, etc., it needs the use client directive at the top, so here. And I hope you still remember the difference between use client and use server. Okay, now we're going to dynamically import the component in the client component. So we're going to copy this code, which already has our component, and we're going to paste it in our page.tsx, which is our homepage. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code and just paste the code here. And as you can see, one second. We have a button which toggles heavy component, and once we click, it goes into the loading state and loads the component. So to explain it more thoroughly, we use dynamic to import heavy component only when it's needed, and the component will load when show heavy is true. So here, as you can see, we used a state management to define show heavy and set show heavy, and here we have show heavy. So when is it true, it's gonna load, reducing the initial bundle size. And also we applied some Tailwind classes which are used for styling. And since we use useState, also remember again, this file needs to be a client component indicated by useClient on the top. And some of the benefits of that include improved performance, so reduces initial load time when we go on a website, and also better user experience, so loads components only when necessary. And now we're going to explore another concept, which is called image optimization. Images often account for a significant portion of a web page's size, and optimizing those images can greatly improve our performance. And Next.js helps us with that, and that's why it is on the next level of frameworks for JavaScript. That's what differentiates Next.js. It has a lot of built-in features, and image optimization is one of them. So yeah, once I just mentioned, Next.js provides the image component to optimize images automatically, taking all the heavy lifting. And some of the features of image optimization includes automatic resizing, so serves images appropriate to the user's device size, lazy loading, images are loaded as they enter the viewport, modern formats, so supports WebP and AVIF when the browser allows, which are like the modern formats for loading the images. And here's an example. So we place an image in the public folder, and suppose we have an image called cutecat.jpg in the public images directory, and we're basically gonna use that, and we're gonna paste the code in our home page. And as you can see, we already have the public folder and images folder, and within that we have our cat picture. So yeah, let's go back to page.tsx and just simply paste this code. And as you can see, we have the picture of the cat. So some of the properties include width and height, which help Next.js calculate the aspect ratio, and we can change that to like 600, for example, 300, and yeah, we can just kind of play with it. And Tailwind CSS is used for styling, obviously, and since this component doesn't use the state or effects, it's a server component by default, so that's why we don't need use client on the top. Great job, and now we're gonna move on to another example with optimizing remote images. Now we're going to update our next.config.ts to allow remote domains, so we can fetch photos from the internet using image address. Simply what are you gonna do now is go to your code editor and navigate to next.config.ts, and we're simply gonna append this configurator here and add images here, and we're gonna give it a property of domains, and we're gonna declare the domain for the photo that we're gonna fetch from the internet. And basically we have to just for this image type i.emg.com, and that's pretty much it. Now we have to go back and copy this code, which already fetches the picture from the internet, and now if we're gonna paste it in our .page.tsx homepage, yeah, it's still gonna load because right here in next config.ts we defined the domain, so we allowed Next.js to process this domain and give us an image back. So yeah, great job with that. And yeah, here's an explanation that we specify allowed remote domains in next.config.ts, it should be ts, provide width and height since Next.js can't automatically determine remote image dimensions, and we also applied some Tailwind CSS classes for styling. And some of the benefits for doing that include improved loading times, so optimized images load faster, and also better SEO and accessibility for properly sized and labeled images. Now I'm gonna quickly walk through the font optimization. So web fonts can impact performance if not handled properly. I'm not gonna give you like any coding examples here, but I'm just gonna quickly walk you through it. So yeah, how can we use Next/font for automatic optimization? Next.js also provides another built-in features, which is called Next Font library to optimize fonts, including Google fonts and custom local fonts. So here's like an example of importing the font. You can see here in the code, we import inter from Next Font Google, and we use it here in our application. So inter.variable right here. And then we have to configure our tailwind.css to actually use those fonts. And the font is now self-hosted and optimized, and inter.variable that we have here is actually applies the font using a CSS variable, and Tailwind CSS is configured to use the custom font, and the metadata export is used for SEO. So here we have our metadata. And here's like a little example of using local fonts, So place fonts files in the project. So add your desired font file and name it like myfont.woff2 to the app/fonts directory. And basically you have to import the font as defined here. So like yeah, myfont.variable, don't forget to import it on the top along with metadata. Then configure your Tailwind CSS to actually use that font. And yeah, you're pretty much set up. And its benefits include performance, so eliminates external network requests for fonts, which can drastically improve performance if leveraged correctly, and also privacy, so no requests are sent to external font servers. Now we're going to talk about utilizing the Metadata API. So proper metadata enhances SEO and improves how your site is presented on social media platforms and how it ranked on Google. So you probably know that when you type a certain website, it gives you a bunch of results depending on the keyword, and metadata plays a crucial role. So if you have a very good defined and you correctly leverage the metadata structure and layout, your website is gonna be ranked higher in the Google pages. So yeah, setting the metadata in Next.js app router involves exporting a metadata object or generate metadata function in your layout or page files. So here's an example. We just copy this code and let's go back to page.csx. And here we have our metadata, so title of Nozomio, description of this is coding platform, and for the open graph is basically for all social media platforms. We have the title of Nozomio, welcome to Nozomio, and here's an image of our icon, what is going to display when we're going to share the link of our website on platforms like TikTok, WhatsApp, etc. And yeah, here's an explanation. Again, the metadata export is used by Next.js to set the head content right here. And open graph properties improve how your page look when shared on social media. And no need to use the head component, Next.js handles it automatically in the app router. And of course the benefits are improved SEO and enhanced sharing, so better presentation on social media platforms for your friends, family, and just people in general. Now I'm gonna quickly walk through the managing static assets. We already previously discussed it in our previous lessons. So Next.js uses the public folder, which is here, to serve static files like images, fonts, and other assets. And here's an example with serving a static file. So I'm not gonna waste a lot of time on that. So place a file in public, save robots.txt in the public directory, and we can access the file using like the domain of the website and robots.txt. Okay, yeah, here's a quick example with defining robots.txt in our public folder. So create a new file, name it robots.txt, and just say something like, hello, it's me. And just go to your browser and go to robots.txt, and you should see like an output of hello, it's me, so you can access those files directly in your browser, and not just text files, but also different images and other files that are stored in the public folder. Okay, let's delete that and go back to our application. So yeah, the benefits are that they provide early access, so files in public are accessible from the root URL, so you can just kind of paste the link with the file in the public folder you want to access, and it will give you the result back. And also it's good for caching, so static assets can be cached by CDN providers. So when you're gonna upload your website to different Google platforms, it will require you to have some sort of robots.txt file, so CDN providers can crawl through your website and also rank it on the Google web pages. And now we're going to move on to the next part of the lesson, which is preparing for deployment. So ensuring your application is ready for deployment involves managing environment variables, configuring builds, and analyzing bundle sizes. So we already kind of went through environment variables, which allow you to configure your application without hard coding sensitive information. So basically we create a .env.local file in the root of our application. We give it a bunch of stuff that we don't want to be exposed when we deploy our application. And here how we can use it on the server side. So just, for example, to use the database process.env.database URL, which we store here. And for the client side, you also follow pretty much the same pattern. And some of the important notes that whenever you add the prefix of next _public caps locked, only variables prefixed with next public are exposed to the client side. So yeah, here we gave the API URL of next public, so it's going to be exposed to client side. And once again, do not expose sensitive variables to the client. And again, do not commit any .env.local, add .env.local to your gitignore file, which is located here. So yeah, just add it here. And moving on, so to how Oh yeah, before we move on to build and export settings, you can also using environment variables in the next.config.ts. So right here you can just kind of give it a new property of env and give any key you want. Okay, now we're gonna move on to configuring your build process, which ensures optimal performance and compatibility. So in order to optimize your build, we have to run this command npm run build to create an optimized production build. And let's run it first. So create a new terminal and run npm run build. And now it's basically going to create a new optimized build for the website. We just have to wait while it compiles everything, and I'm going to walk you through it. So yeah, here we have like a breakdown of our application, and basically what you might see when running this command is Next.js version. So the output will show the current Next.js version. In my case, it's 15.02. Also compilation, the output indicates that the application was compiled successfully with no errors. Page data collection, so all the pages that were collected. Static page generation, Next.js generated the static pages for the application, 5 pages in our case. Also build traces, Next.js collected the necessary build traces to optimize the application. Also page optimization, so Next.js finalized the optimization of the pages. Also route information, the output shows the size and the first load GS for each route in the application. And this information essentially can be useful for identifying areas that may need further optimization. And we also can implement bundle analysis. So analyzing your application's bundles helps identify large dependencies and optimize them. And you usually use those for like large projects, like startups or just heavy websites. So we can install the package to use the bundle analyzer. I believe I already have it installed, so let's create a new terminal and run the following command: npm install next bundle analyzer. So yeah, up to date, I already have it installed. And basically what we have to do now is configure our next.config.ts to include this bundle analyzer to run in parallel with our next config. And in order to run the analyzer, so after the build, a visual report will be generated after we run this command, and open the generated HTML file in your browser to inspect bundle sizes. So we're gonna run that, and I'm gonna quickly walk you through it because it looks very weird at first, but it basically gives us the distribution of our files, and we have like 3 different files. So here's like a breakdown of stat size, parse size, zip size, etc. So yeah, you usually use it for like complex applications to determine how many memory you use and whether your application is like too memory demanding and too complicated. So yeah, let's close it for now and go back to our lesson. And also don't forget, for the optimization purposes, import only what you need. So here's like a package called Lodash, which is very big and requires a lot of memory. So don't just import the whole package, but import specific functions. So for instance, if you need a debounce function from the Lodash, just import that. So import debounce from Lodash dash debounce. And also don't forget to use tree shaking friendly libraries. So prefer libraries that support tree shaking to reduce bundle sizes. And moving on to the next part of our lesson, we're going to talk about monitoring and logging. So setting up monitoring and logging is essential, as you know, for maintaining your application's health after deployment. So in order to set up logs for serverless functions, we have to implement simple logging. I'm not going to go through a very complex examples. I'm just simply going to create a new API folder, and yeah, let's create it first. API, within that create a simple folder and call it hello. And within that folder create a route.ts and paste this file, which basically is gonna log the result in the console here after we access the API. So if we go to our API route, API slash hello, we should get response, so message hello world. And as you can see, we have the logging in our console, which says that request was received at API hello, and yeah, it works perfectly. And on platforms like Vercel or Netlify, logs are accessible through their dashboards, and we will actually have a separate unit for deployment on Vercel, so just stay tuned because they make logging and analytics a lot easier. So yeah, just wait for the next module. And for custom servers, logs will appear in your service console. And also we can use a logging library if you don't want to use that. So actual logging libraries are even better than traditional methods. So for more advanced logging, consider using a library like Pino, I don't know how to pronounce that. So first of all, we have to install it. So in our terminal, run the command npm install Pino. And I believe I already have this installed. And after that, create a logger. So within the root of your application, create a new folder and name it library. And within that, create a new file and call it logger.ts. And simply copy this code. What are we doing here is importing Pino or Pino from Pino, and we define a logger and give it a level of information. So it will give us an information, and then we just export the logger. And in order to use this logger, we're gonna simply modify our code in route.ts within our hello folder. So simply use that. And when we use that again, so refresh the website. Okay. Yeah, and in our console we should get something more advanced and more thorough. So as you can see, we have like the level 30, time, PID, hostname, so from MacBook Pro, message request received at API hello. So yeah, it gives a bunch of information that you can also customize within the logger route. So yeah, and now I'm gonna quickly mention the analytics option, which we're gonna cover in depth later. So while we won't delve deeply into analytics in this lesson, I just wanna provide you with some information. So there are a bunch of analytics providers and services, and some of them that I personally use are Google Analytics, which is an industry standard analytics platform. Has a lot of built-in features, and it's very convenient to work with, and it can track user interaction, page views, and more. And also Vercel, that we're gonna work more in depth in our future lessons. So it provides real-time analytics without affecting performance, and it's very easy to integrate with Next.js applications which are deployed on the Vercel. So yeah, once again, we're gonna explore these options in more detail in the upcoming Vercel module. And congratulations to staying with me and reaching the summary of this lesson. So today we've covered how to optimize Next.js applications, essentially what is code splitting, lazy loading, and Next Dynamic. We optimized images using the Next Image component. We optimized fonts using Next Font for both Google and local phones. We utilized the Metadata API to improve CEO. Managed static assets using the public folder and did some recap on that. We also prepared our application for deployment, so like the baby steps. We managed environment variables securely, which is also a recap. Configured build settings in config.ts or GS. You can actually use both, doesn't matter. We also analyzed bundle sizes using Next Bundle Analyzer. And we also set up monitoring and logging. So we implemented logging in serverless function and mentioned analytics options for feature exploration. And by applying those techniques, your Next.js application will be more performant, efficient, and ready for deployment. And all those features are being taken from official Next.js documentation and are being simplified specifically for this course. So hope you stayed with me, because now it's time for the exercise. So yeah, it's not that hard. You just have to implement dynamic imports, so you can just kind of read through that. And you also have to optimize images, fonts, set up some environmental variables, and analyze bundle sizes. You can just quickly go through it on our lesson documentation right here. So I'm not gonna go walk you through that. And I also gave you some additional resources so you can practice on your own. And great job today, guys. This lesson was very comprehensive, and there was a lot of information, but very good information, and that you will definitely need in the future, and you're gonna apply that. So once again, performance optimization and deployment readiness are critical aspects of modern web development. And by leveraging Next.js built-in features and following best practices with TypeScript, Tailwind CSS in the app router, you can deliver fast, efficient, and scalable applications. And yeah, just remember to continuously monitor and optimize your application's performance. Keep your dependencies lean and imports optimized. securely manage environment variables and sensitive information, and please do not expose those to GitHub or any other service. So just make sure you added those environment variables in your gitignore and secure them, and also prepare thoroughly for deployment to ensure smooth process. And for the next steps, just get ready for your final project preparation, and we're gonna also cover different deployment strategies, exploring hosting options and continuous deployment practices with platforms like Vercel, and just continue refining your application from our previous lesson, which is an AI assistant, and you can just play with it, add more features, improve, add like a landing page with lady loading, dynamic imports, etc. So if you have any questions or need further clarification on any of the topics covered in this lesson, feel free to ask. And once again, thank you for your participation. Hit a like, and hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you and happy hacking.